Hello YouTube, my name is Nick, and today I have a pretty special video to bring for you today. It's that time of the year again, end of the year lists are coming out, and I think it's about time that I do mine. It took me a little while to do it this time. It wasn't that hard to make, it wasn't as hard as last year I don't think, but it's that time again, and I'm going to be doing my top 25 albums of the year list. This is going to be 25 through 11, the next video will be 10 through 1 like always. And before I start, I want to say that this video series is dedicated to a special person in my life who I know is watching, so, and let's get into this. Number 25, I have two albums here, but they are not tied. These are the two Nephrons albums that came out this year. This one is The Inward Cold, and the other one is The Hours Beneath. This is a one-man band. The project put out its first two albums this year. Incredible black metal, atmospheric black metal, kind of in the vein of something like Ahab, I guess, but more black metal and atmospheric. Extremely powerful music, melancholic, amazing clean singing, rumbling low-end vocals. I just can't get enough of this. This is one of my favorite upstart bands that come out from this year, and I can't wait for them to do other things. And I couldn't put one over the other, and they both came out this year, so I just decided to put them both at 25. So yeah, that's the two albums by Nephrons for 25. Number 24, Fallujah with Dreamless. This one definitely took me by surprise. I didn't expect to like it as much as I actually do. I really enjoy the last album, but it didn't have enough staying power for me, in my opinion. It was still getting its feet under it. And with this album, they found their niche, they found their specific sound, and the amount of ethereal sounds and the dreamlike quality, hence the title, about this album and about the band now, just makes it so much more special, and it separates it from the pack from all these kind of bands. They used to be kind of more deathcore, like technical deathcore kind of stuff. But this is so far out of the blue and away from the norm that it's hard to classify what they are anymore. It's very heavily electronic influenced, and I'm definitely okay with that. And I'm not usually a big fan of electronic music, but this is amazing. So 24 is Dreamless by Fallujah. Number 23, not going to be able to say this, I'm going to say the shorthand version. This is the debut from Extempore, big old name here, and I think these characters here are supposed to be the title. If you know this album or you know the band, you'll know how ridiculous this is, but don't think this is gimmickal. This is extremely unique, mostly brutal death metal. It's labeled as technical death metal, but I mostly disagree. The production on this is what carries it on its back. It's so thick and atmospheric and kind of natural feeling. The vocals are super killer. The guitar tones and instrumentation and songwriting are just off the chain. So if you had some second thoughts about listening to this because it is gimmickal looking, at least, definitely give it a chance. It doesn't run too long, so it gets its point across efficiently. So that's 23 with Extempore, whatever the heck the name is. Number 22, Entheogenesis by Swine Overlord. I'm a huge fan of Swine Overlord. They have an extremely unique blend of brutal death metal and progressive experimental stuff with some slam on the side. I'm going to try not to get too much glare from the tin. But this album is just a great masterwork all the way through. The album artwork rules. The production and, of course, the songwriting is always a plus for this band. This is heads above their last album, The Parables of Umbral Transcendence, and I can't wait for new albums to be made by them because the direction that they're going feels like they're revitalizing the genre of brutal death metal. A lot of experimentation on this, and a lot more to come. I've talked to one of the guys from this band ad nauseum, and he's a cool guy. So that's number 23, I think. 22, Swine Overlord with Entheogenesis. Number 21, Dismantling the Decomposed Entities by Decimated Humans. This is another one of those extremely strange bands. Sorry if I kind of like choke a little bit, I'm starting to lose my voice. But this is another one of those experimental, avant-garde, kind of slam, brutal death metal bands. This is much, much better than their debut, in my opinion. Everything is so much cleaner and more proficient feeling. The runtime is much longer, and the songwriting is what makes this album. It is so weird and disjointed feeling that it's very unique. It's kind of hard to explain what the heck is going on here most of the time, because it's not your conventional slam or brutal death metal. But definitely give this a listen if you haven't, at least just for the novelty of saying that you have. It's kind of hard to get into because it's extremely chaotic a lot of the time. There's so many tempo and timing changes on this album that you couldn't even count them. So yeah, that is 21 with Decimated Humans, Dismantling the Decomposed Entities. Number 20, Absinthe with 9. This is an extremely hard album to describe. It's somewhere in between black metal, black and death metal, and brutal death metal, I guess so. There are slams on this album, believe it or not. This is a genre-bending album and band in general. I believe this is their debut two-man band. The runtime on this is amazing, and it's extremely well produced, and all the songs feel scrumptious, I guess. They have meaning and some bravado behind them. Awesome upstart band. A lot of bands have used this artwork before, so don't get them mixed up with other bands. So yeah, this is 9 by Absinthe. Number 19. This one I thought was going to be higher up on my list. This is Finitude by Unfathomable Ruination. The only reason this isn't in like my top 10 is mostly because of the vocals. I was pleased with them when I first heard it, but they kind of grew stale on me. They're not as powerful as I would have liked, and especially in those like transition periods, you can kind of hear that they're not as powerful as I would imagine they should be. But the instrumentation and the songwriting on this album is just insane. Every song on here is like an instant brutal classic. The solos on this and the instrumentation just blows your mind, makes your ears bleed with how fast everything is going most of the time. But it's not obnoxiously fast, and it still feels natural. It doesn't sound like Rings of Saturn or anything. But this is ultra turbo brutal stuff, technical brutal death metal, the highest quality that you can possibly get. Wearing the hat. So yeah, that is number 19, Finitude by Unfathomable Ruination. Number 18, Hostis Universitarii Generis by Ad Majorem Sanctum Gloriam, or AMSG. Everyone probably knows this album or has heard it by now. Extremely high quality, unorthodox black metal. A lot of cleaner and more avant-garde passages on this album. I'm beyond happy with this. This was higher up on my list a lot of the year, but just eventually got pushed down by other things that you'll eventually see here soon. But of course, the artwork by Jeff Whitehead, and this album just grows on you and grows on you. It's extremely lengthy. It's their longest album to date, and this is probably my favorite album by them, to be honest. The song Divine Madness Transcends is just delicious. I hope they do more stuff like that in the future. So if you like delicious black metal and you haven't heard this yet, please get out from under your rock and do so. So that was number 18 with AMSG. Number 17, The Canticle of Shadows by Dark End. This is one of the few symphonic black metal bands that I can get into solely because of the tone and the instrumentation. It's extremely fast, and it's not whimsical at all. It's not cheesy or too big feeling. Everything feels natural and just really brutal. Attila from Mayhem did guest vocals on a song or two on here, I believe. And if you know their previous work, you know that it's dreadfully serious and just crushing, and the album artwork rules, and it's just so serious feeling, so devoted. Songwriting on here is just blowing all of the other symphonic black metal bands out of the water, in my opinion, besides maybe Xanthocroid, but they haven't made an album in a little while. So yeah, that was 17 with Dark End with the Canticle of Shadows. Number 16, Hypnosify by Aeneon. I talked about this not too long ago. I finally got the CD copy, and this album just blows my mind every time I hear it. The songs Earth Tomb and Phronesis, Psychomagic, are two of the greatest songs of the year. I listen to this all the time in my car, and it's just so dang weird without being weird for weird's sake. So many tertiary instruments, a lot of clean passages, amazing clean vocals. It's a lot different than I would have expected it to be, considering the last album, Extempore. It has a different emotional feel. This is more... It kind of reminds me of the band Hail Spirit Noir or something like that. It's like a really weird black metal avant-garde band. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you like weird stuff and you haven't heard of Aeneon, do so. So that was number 16, Hypnosify by Aeneon. Number 15, I expected this one to be higher up on my list as well. This is Sadistic Design by Vulvodynia. One of the great homages to Slam. There's a ton of guest vocals on this album, and I'm not entirely pleased with all of them, to be honest. Some of them I could definitely just stand Duncan Bentley doing them. That's the only reason that this isn't super high up on my list, is because some of the guest vocals ruin a couple songs for me, to be honest. But this album is just like a brutal slab of masterful brutality. So many adjectives are going to be in this video. But hopefully everyone knows this. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, slam band in the world. So yeah, that's Sadistic Design by Vulvodynia for number 15. Number 14, Unethical by Corpse. This is one of my favorite Slam albums to come out in quite a long time. This is as close to the production of Serial Herbicide as I can possibly muster. Speaker blasting, ear bursting bass drops, a giant wall of guitar tone that just makes you claustrophobic. It's so heavy. The vocals are the only weak side of this album, and they're not weak by any means. They're just not as powerful as something like Extermination Dismemberment. But you can't have everything, can you? But if you like brutal stuff, please go check this out. I love this album to death. I listened to this almost as much as any other Slam album this year. So yeah, that was 14 with Unethical by Corpse. Number 13, this one kind of came out of nowhere for me. This is Recollapse of the Universe by Infinite Density. This is a side project of one of the guys from Ne Obliviscaris with some other people, I believe. And this is really strange stuff. It's kind of hard to put this into a certain genre. The instrumentation is extremely inspired and natural feeling. Extremely technical, very progressive, kind of reminds me of Alkaloid from last year. But the vocals are what make this album so special. It goes everywhere from like shouts to really deep growls to like slam moments, and I just love it. The variation of the vocal techniques on this album are almost second to none this year, for real. If you haven't heard of this, please do yourself a favor. I believe they're still available, but tech death, progressive death, brutal death, all kinds of death on this. It gets the point across, it's not super lengthy, so that was number 13? Yeah, 13 with Recollapse of the Universe by Infinite Density. Number 12, this one totally blew me away. I'm so happy with this album. This is Selves We Cannot Forgive by Black Crown Initiate. I really, really liked their last album, but this album blows that album out of the water in my opinion. The songwriting and the vocals on this album just... mwah. I could listen to this album all day and night. I listen to this a lot when I'm just trying to like be mellow or play games or try to think about something. The song Sorrow Psalm, Belie the Machine, Matriarch, every song on here is pretty lengthy but very substantial. It's really, really hard to not recommend this. This is almost radio friendly in a sense, to where everything is so well produced and tight, and the clean vocals are so phenomenal, and it just feels right. This is one of the big bands. I think these guys are pretty popular, but this is one of the big bands that I'm 100% behind. I love this album. I could recommend this to anyone who likes progressive death metal, maybe a little bit of avant-garde, maybe some metalcore. Not really, but you get the idea. So yeah, that was number 12, Black Crown Initiate, Selves We Cannot Forgive. And we come down to the last one for this video. This was a very special album for me, and I'm definitely happy with the outcome. This is Cenotaph by Eye of Solitude. I think this might be my Funeral Doom album of the year, I can't remember. Yeah, it should be. But this is just a crushing, horrifically depressing, awe-inspiring, giant piece of depressing music. Funeral Doom, melodic death doom, whatever the heck you want to call Eye of Solitude. Doesn't matter. These guys will make you shrivel up and ball yourself into a corner and cry. The clean vocals by Daniel Niego just get better and better with every album he does. He's in like a million bands and they all rule. And they're all super depressing, except for the one album he did with Unfathomable Ruination, which was just ridiculous. I hope that gets repressed soon. But anyway, if you like Eye of Solitude, this is one of their best efforts to date. This is probably as good as Canto 3 in my opinion. The production is definitely way better, because that was the only problem I had with that album. It's 4 songs, it's about 55 minutes long, so you'll know what you're going to be getting into with this album. So that was number 11, and that's going to be the last album for this video. I probably won't do this 10 through 1 today, because I have some stuff to do. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find some new stuff. Hopefully you learn a little bit about me. And I'll see you in the next section. Mwah.